What does this have to do with this? This orangutan is trying to fight off the excavator. Its home is being decimated by loggers who are clearing the land for an oil palm plantation. And this chocolate bar I'm holding contains, you guessed it, palm oil. Palm oil is the most widely used vegetable on earth, found in things like soaps, chips, and instant noodles. To satiate demand, vast swaths of forest have been cleared for oil palm plantations across Southeast Asia for decades.
Sudah lama saya tinggal di sini, tahun 2002. Perubahan yang kami rasakan selama kami di sini, kalau dulu pertama kami masuk semari, hutan masih banyak, pohon-pohon masih besar. Sekarang yang kita rasakan banyak kebun sawit.
1,200 kilometers from where the orangutan was fighting for its life, another once pristine forest is falling victim to this trend, the Leuser Ecosystem. It's a world biodiversity hotspot, home to iconic yet critically endangered species like elephants, tigers, rhinos, and orangutans. Hundreds of communities, about 4 million people, living around the Leuser ecosystem also depend on it for flood control, fertile soil, and water. To learn more about what our dependence on palm oil is actually doing to the planet, I'm digging into what's going on in the Leuser ecosystem and what we can do to help. I'm Romy Castagnino, and this is Chasing Deforestation, a series that explores the world's most threatened forests through satellite data and reporters on the ground. The Leuser ecosystem is found on Indonesia's main western island of Sumatra. Almost 3 times the size of Yellowstone National Park, the ecosystem stretches from the coast of the Indian Ocean to the Malacca Strait. At its core is Gunung Leuser National Park, covering 3,210 square kilometers. The wider ecosystem covers more than 26,000 square kilometers of lowland rainforest, peat swamps, mountain ranges, and river systems. Since 2001, Leuser has lost 9% of its forests. WWF estimates that more than half of Sumatra's rainforest has been cleared over the past 40 years, primarily to make way for oil palm and pulpwood plantations.
Yang kami rasakan, yang dulunya masih banyak hutan, jarang sekali terjadi banjir. Sekarang bisa setahun sampai dua kali, 3 kali banjir.
When you cut down forests on mountainous slopes, you leave the ground bare. Rainwater flows downhill freely, causing dangerous landslides. Rainwater also flows into rivers unimpeded, causing them to overflow their banks. Villages in the district of Aceh Tamiang district on the northeast boundary of the Leuser ecosystem have literally been swept away due to the flash floods. Thousands of Achenese people have been displaced and lost their livelihoods over the years.
Waktu itu sangat sulit Bu, waktu banjir di Aceh, waktu di banjir bandang. Kalau banjir semalam 2 jam kita belum tentu sampai ke simpang kiri kanal berlumpur. Sangat dalam, bisa sampai 1 lutut kita untuk jalan.
Deforestation can also involve starting fires to clear land. In 2015, Sumatra witnessed devastating fires and some of the worst haze on record.
And we've entered into palm oil plantations. And over to my left, you can see that the land is on fire.
More than 500,000 people sickened and 40+ million people, according to government, still breathing in toxic air.
Smoke affected air quality across Sumatra and as far away as Singapore and Malaysia. In Indonesia, oil palm expansion has fueled the clearance of carbon-rich tropical swamps, also known as peatlands. This causes a massive spike in greenhouse gases as centuries of stored carbon are released into the atmosphere. A 2019 study said Indonesia was the 2nd largest emitter of greenhouse gases from forests after Brazil. However, in years when it experiences significant forest and peat fires, Indonesia becomes the largest emitter from forests. Oil palm plantations also drive the construction of roads.
When the government construct the road, easy to everyone to access that forest, including poaching.
Many of the iconic species in the Leuser ecosystem are threatened with extinction due to the many threats that oil palm plantations pose.
And after the road construction, they start for the clearing area, and that means will impact for the conservation by biodiversity.
Fewer than 14,000 critically endangered Sumatran orangutans remain in the wild. Their decline dates back to the 1920s, when oil palm plantations first expanded and a network of roads created a window for wildlife smuggling. Today, Sumatran orangutans are killed by palm farmers, who see them as pests or sold as illegal pets. Sumatran elephants, also a critically endangered species, now have less area to roam freely, often coming into contact with villagers, and that causes trouble. Human-elephant conflicts are on the rise in Aceh, from crop raiding to injury or death of people and elephants. Today, Gunung Leuser National Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and has the highest level of protection under Indonesian law. But that doesn't tell the whole story. While Gunung Leuser National Park is protected from forest crimes, it only makes up a small portion of the Leuser ecosystem. The rest of the forest consists almost entirely of government forest land, 1/3 of which can be legally logged or cleared for agricultural use. Poor law enforcement and permissive government policies give a path to illegal logging inside all palm plantations, which are public lands allocated by governments to companies for plantations. Dozens of palm oil companies that operate inside the Leuser ecosystem have been linked to so-called conflict palm oil, a term used by some activists for palm oil that has been illegally produced or linked to the destruction of the rainforest and peatlands, human rights violations, and land theft from indigenous people. Many companies say they've put policies in place to prevent the sourcing tainted palm oil from the Leuser ecosystem. Yet deforestation-linked oil is still flooding into their supply chains, numerous exposés have revealed. A team of investigative journalists in Aceh province recently found that a palm oil company in Leuser appeared to have been clearing forests illegally since at least 2016. The extent of the clearing was equivalent to 2.5 times the size of New York City's Central Park. But it's not all bad news. The Leuser ecosystem has a history of progressive conservation efforts, which can be traced back to the colonial era, when the Dutch first came to Aceh to take control over the fertile soils in the region and the Malacca Strait, a strategic trade channel. Amazed by the natural collections explorers brought back from Indonesia, Europeans began to take an interest in the forests of Sumatra. In 1912, the Netherlands Indie Society for the Protection of Nature, the NVN, was established. The growing presence of orangutans in European zoos and private collections led to public outrage. Europeans protested against their capture, advocating for their conservation and habitat protection in the Dutch colony. The NVN's mission was to create an inventory of rare flora, fauna, and geological sites, which would then petition the colonial government to preserve. Inspired by national parks globally, like Yosemite in the US, one of the world's first national parks, they worked to establish the first large-scale national park in Indonesia. They chose Leuser to become the symbol of nature in the country, as the Dutch were captivated by the rare species found there and the geography and ecology of the forests. Though the creation of this park was a great win for nature, it was also a colonial strategy for gaining control of the territory and suppressing the indigenous peoples inhabiting the Leuser region. Designating a part of the Leuser ecosystem as a national park converted native territories into state-owned lands. Today, Indonesian authorities are implementing a program that attempts to reverse some of this injustice. For years, Indonesians have illegally settled inside and around national parks, clearing and farming the land in the hope of eventually being granted legal title to it. The government's default approach was to evict those people. However, under the new program, settlers are allowed to remain on the land and cultivate traditional crops and harvest non-timber products, such as rattan and honey, but acknowledging they cannot claim the land or grow rubber and oil palm. Passionate locals have also been contributing to the continued protection of the Leuser ecosystem.
Ya, saya terlibat di restorasi Karena sekali-sekali kami ikut suami ke kebun untuk menanam, membantu suami menanam kembali hutan, menjadikan supaya jadi hutan kembali biar bisa membantu untuk menyerap air biar. Ya, caranya kami bersatu bahu-membahu untuk mengerjakan kembali, membangun hutan kembali, restorasi kembali. Ya, seperti kami bentuk kelompok Cendana Wangi, kami untuk membantu ekonomi rumah tangga.
In 2013, Aceh Governor Zaini Abdullah proposed a new land use plan for the province of Aceh. The Leuser ecosystem was left entirely off the map. Like their ancestors did 100 years ago, a group of citizens took matters into their own hands to fight back.
Kakek, pernah dia bilang sama saya, hutan, air, ini harus dijaga, dia bilang.
In 2016, an alliance of concerned citizens backed by NGOs filed a lawsuit against the national and provincial governments, asking to abolish the current land use plan.
Gugatan warga negara adalah gugatan yang dilakukan bersama-sama oleh para warga negara untuk memastikan negara melakukan tugasnya.
But the suit was rejected by the Central Jakarta District Court later that same year. In November 2016, Indonesian Environment and Forestry Minister Siti Nurbaya Bakar issued a decree to reincorporate the Leuser ecosystem into Aceh's spatial plan.
Kalau kita tidak bisa bernafas, kalau kita tidak punya air bersih untuk kita konsumsi, bagaimana kita bisa memikirkan pembangunan ekonomi?
All these efforts to preserve Indonesia's rainforest have had some success. From 2018 to 2020, there was a sharp fall in deforestation inside Gunung Leuser National Park. Since 2016, deforestation in the wider Leuser ecosystem has declined each year. Indonesia's deforestation rate hit a historic low in 2020, and oil palm-driven deforestation continued to decrease throughout 2021. It remains to be seen if this is a temporary blip or the beginning of a lasting trend. But conservation is a constant fight, as Indonesia recently ended a moratorium on issuing new permits for oil palm plantations.
I have to keep going because even though we on the way to protect that forest, deforestation is still happening. We have to save our earth because that is our life. We only have one earth.
As consumers, we can help save Leuser and many other forests that are plagued by illegal palm plantations, even if we live on the other side of the globe. By not buying palm oil products that are sourced from conflict plantations, we take a stance against deforestation and human rights abuses. The Snack Food 20 is a list created by the Rainforest Action Network of the biggest food companies that manufacture hundreds of famous products and gross more than $432 billion in combined sales each year, but are at high risk of buying conflict palm oil and destroying the Leuser ecosystem. On that list, we have giants like PepsiCo, Kraft Foods Group, the H.J. Heinz Company, the Campbell Soup Company, Grupo Bimbo, among others. We're talking about snacks like Oreo cookies and Lay's potato chips. Some Snack Food 20 companies have pledged to remove conflict palm oil from their supply chains, but many other companies continue to lag behind. I live in Lima, Peru, and wanted to check out palm oil products in my locally grocery store. To be honest, I feel overwhelmed by the number of everyday products that contain palm oil. Palm oil is found in approximately half of all the packaged products sold in the US grocery stores. But non-profits like RAN help make it simple for us. It has made a downloadable pocket-sized reference card that helps you avoid products which contain conflict palm oil. It's basically a grocery store cheat sheet. The reference card details common palm oil ingredients to look out for and the most common products that contain palm oil. NGOs like RAN are calling on consumers to hold these companies accountable and demand transparency in their supply chains. We have the power to influence these brands and drive changes in the way palm oil products are produced. It's important to note that by being conscious of our consumption, we won't solve the whole problem of deforestation driven by palm oil, but we can definitely be a small part of the solution. If you enjoyed Chasing Deforestation and want to see more content like this, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.